Welcome to Iñaky's Coffee Club. Today we have a super important guest for me, and she's one of my good friends, Katie Durkin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I feel so honored to be here today.
Yay.
We're so excited that you're here. Katie helps me and Malin a lot with our business planning, and really we do a thing called the Ninja Selling Process, which is a way that we help our clients really be able to, have a better transaction.
Better experience.
So she helps us a lot with that. So just, I'm so grateful that you're here today.
Well, I'm grateful for y'all because, we get to experience so many different types of people in this industry. That's, I think, the beauty of real estate. And, there's just certain people that you click with. And I feel like when I met you guys, I was like, yes, this is so great. And there have been ideas that are like, let's run with it. I kind of think it's going to work like at the core, but I'm not sure. And you guys are like, cool, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ever since we met, we became like instant friends, and you always have so many ideas for us, and we're always so down to try them, whether they work or not. They always work. But I know that you coach a lot of people and you help a lot of people. But so anytime you bring something up to us, I feel like we're so into our business that sometimes we have blind spots. So it's good to have an outsider come in and say, hey, you should try this, you should try that.
Yeah. Fresh perspective.
Yeah, it's easy, I think, to get lost in the day-to-day, right? Like, there's just so much going on. There's so much distraction all the time that sometimes when you're able to take a step back and look at it, it's like, just add these few things in and like, you're going to see such a return, and maybe you're going to be able to live a better life because of it. Or maybe you'll have more time for your family, or you're going to make more money, or whatever that goal is for you.
Right.
There's some things that you just don't really have to overthink. You just kind of have to do.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. So most of my followers know who you are, right? Because of the network and all that. But for those that do not know who you are, give us a little background on who you are, how you got to where you're at, and just kind of like your trajectory, your career path.
So grew up in San Antonio, never left, went to UTSA and fell in love with a man who was at HEB, and that's still his career. And so I've just always been here, and I've loved media. I've loved producing things, and I kind of fell into real estate. I was actually buying my first house with a Cooper Sotheby's International Realty agent because my mom told me to use her. And she said, like, what are you going to do? We have a part-time marketing job open. And I was like, sounds good. So that's what I did.
Right out of college?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I was contracting a bit in media, and I just kind of went in to do that. And I didn't really have any long-term goals of real estate. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to use InDesign. So I told our broker owner, Jay Cooper, I kind of fibbed when I interviewed with him. And then Caroline Timmons, I mean, she really taught me how to do everything. And I really slid over that. But I mean, I think that was like the best situation to be in. And I've just really like grown what I've been able to do. Never did I think going in and like filling in templates, like what we used to be 10 years ago, compared to like, I get to go to networking events. I get to help people change their lives and their careers. It's just, I don't know, it's so fulfilling for me. And I really have found I've found that calling for myself that fills my cup so much.
Well, and you so enjoy helping people because from marketing, then you kind of were what do we call you with Preserve Title Learning?
Cooper Academy?
With Cooper Academy, you're our director of learning or something like that. And you made so many classes and so many programs for us. And like you teach us how to use softwares, you teach us how to use like different systems. And so you're always, giving to real estate agents. So I think that that's so commendable of you to do because you're really there to help.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I feel like you can't take life too seriously. So I had coined myself as Dean of Cooper Academy.
That's
even
what
though
I was looking
I was
for. That's what I was looking for. Dean of Cooper Academy. Yeah.
as one of one, my staff of one. But it really, like, I am a certified high school speech teacher. Like, I got that when I was in school.
I didn't know that.
Nice.
So I feel like if, like I was able to do student teaching and it was great, but I really love working with adults. So a lot of the classroom management things that I learned that worked on high schoolers actually work on adults too.
Because we're still children.
We never change. Yeah, actually, we never change.
Yeah, I'm just more of like the parent role, too. And I don't know, like I did that and I really started to find my groove. And I just love digging deep with people. I think the hardest part is when you serve so many agents, it's like at such a surface level. But now what I was able to do was really dig deep and find out what's your why? Like, why are you working? Why are you trying so hard? What's that next goal? How can I help get you there by maybe just changing up a few things that you're doing right now?
What's so cool about you is like you've created this whole role for yourself that didn't exist, you know? Like it's not something that you got hired on to do. You just created it. And it was such a need.
Right.
And you just like formed it together. And over the years, you've just helped us so much with ideas and just things that people usually don't have when they are with a brokerage. You know, you're just such a value add.
Thank you. You know, I like to say that maybe I'm the queen of learning the art of the strong arm since like I was super little, and I feel like maybe I've done that a bit in my career, but it served me quite well because there are things like I found that I really love to host trainings and dig deep. And so I just tried to prove that by doing that on top of my job in marketing. And then finally we were able, and I was in the position of like, okay, Katie, you're going to sink or swim. Like education wasn't really that big of a priority in companies at the time. And I was like, game on, like, you got this. I am going to prove you so wrong. And that just really became my driving force. And I knew that that would be the differentiator, right? Because I feel like with our brand, you pay a premium to be here as an agent. But also sometimes why you come with all these tools and things available to you is why you leave, because you're like, I don't take advantage of these things and I'm paying a higher premium. Maybe things are going on in your life that you're saying, wow, like I'm not making as much as I should. I'm watching my spending. And it's like, no. Take a step back, like dig into those things that are available to you, and you're going to make so much money.
Yeah, and so true. And you know, there's 1,000 ways to run a real estate business, and I feel like sometimes people get stuck just doing everything, right? When you really should be focusing on like, what do I like to do? What do I enjoy? What am I good at?
What are you good at?
And where do those things overlap where I can help people instead of trying to do everything? Just figure out like what you're good at and what you enjoy.
What are you good at? What are you lacking in? What can I have somebody else do?
And I feel like you guys do that so beautifully,
We
right?
definitely do. Yeah.
Like, I feel like the hardest part, right, is when we compare ourselves to other people, right?
Yeah.
So when we're looking at somebody else, fitness, business, as parents, whatever it is, and you're like, why am I not that person? And you're down on yourself. What you should really be doing is saying like, man, what am I amazing at? And how can I find that great partner who can come in and compliment me and be that part that I really want to be? And maybe they'll rub off on me, but like, I want to let them be their own person and do their thing. And I'm going to do my thing. And like, I feel like you guys just exemplify that so much because your strengths are so different, but you're so much alike. But you guys shine so bright, especially when you're together, and it's contagious. I want to be around it all the time. And when I leave hanging out with you guys, I'm like, yes, like I can take over the world.
Well, we
now.
feel the same too. You're very motivating. You're just a cheerleader for all of us and a coach. And it's so not something that we expect out of anybody, but you're just, you know, our little angel.
You're the phone call I will always pick up.
Yeah.
And we never know what the topic's going to be.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why it's fun, you know, because, and you FaceTime me a lot, and I love that, you know, and there's other people that will call me and I'll be like, I'm too busy. I'll call them back.
Yeah.
But anytime you call me, as long as I'm not on a phone call, I'm going to pick up.
Yeah.
You do.
It's a happy call, always.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just feel like in the life that we're given, right? Like I just listened to this amazing podcast, and Mel Robbins says, we're all ice cubes, right? And we're melting. Every day that goes by, your ice cube melts. Now, who knows, in the three of us, whose ice cube is melting faster? Like, we don't know. And it's like deep, right? But like when you start to think about it, every single day your ice cube's going to keep melting. So what are you going to pour yourself into? And I just hope that whenever I leave this world, and I hope that's in a long time from now, but I hope that people can stand up and have like really funny stories to share about me and laugh and cry at the same time, but like be able to say that I was just like this positive light to them, and I made them want to do better. And I have down days, but it's getting to talk to people like y'all and getting to call, and you guys give me that same energy back. And finding out who those people are in your life and just being like, okay, but I don't know if Iñaky or Milen's having a good day or bad day, but you know what? I'm having a great day. So I'm going to give it to them whether they need it or not. Yeah.
Because it definitely rubs off.
I can't picture you having a bad day.
Yeah. You are so positive. And your energy always just is shocking to me.
Yeah,
Because you've got your beautiful twin little girls.
Yes.
You've got a great husband, and you're busy all the time, and you've always got a smile on your face.
Well, you know,
very positive.
I feel like, especially having daughters, and you know this as a female, and like Iñaky, you support females so much. Like, I just feel like you have to show up. And I want to show my girls that you can be really great at what you do, but you can also be a great mom. You don't have to choose between one or the other. And I feel like a lot in my work and getting to like kind of spread the training throughout the Sotheby's network, which I never thought would ever happen. But COVID, that was a silver lining for me. It was like my reach just went so far. And I really felt vulnerable, but I shared the struggles as a mom with young kids. I mean, the girls were 18 months old at the time. And being able to share like the great wins, but also like the struggles that I was experiencing as being a working mom and feeling the guilt and going through that. And I really connected with a lot of people across the globe who were watching in on some of these ninja skills things that I was doing and saying like, thanks for doing that, because I'm feeling the same way as mom. So I feel like there's been this cool little community built through that.
You have totally created a community.
Yeah, and I remember talking to you a few years about that subject. You wanted to take things to the next level, but feeling guilty about not being there for your kids. But in reality, everything you're doing is for them, right? So it's like that makes you a good mom.
Yeah. I mean, they were super stoked about my hair being smooth today and, you know, getting all glammed up. Yeah. And I just got some business cards in and they put them in their backpack so that they could show everybody. And you really don't realize how much your kids watch what you say when you think that they are, or especially when they're not listening.
Yeah.
They really are. And they really emulate that. And I want them to be confident, and I want them to know you never have to beg somebody to see your value. You are so valuable. Everybody here, like, we're so unique in so many different ways, and shine through that. Like, don't compare yourself to other people, but like really dig into what that is for yourself.
Absolutely. And you posted a picture of them the other day, and I just thought they had the cutest little outfits, and they look like mini Katie Durkins, you know?
I know. They have a great role model there. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I think that we maybe don't realize when we're little, our subconscious, what we pick up on, and all that stuff is so important. Like, they might not remember specific memories about this time for you in their life, but it's definitely going to make an impact on them, you know, to go out and be confident and do what they're good at. And
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes me feel so good, you know?
Well, you're rocking it. And, you know, a couple of years ago, it's like you only helped Cooper Sotheby's International Realty. And now we go to all these networking events, and it's like everybody knows you, you know, like, and everyone's like telling me about you. I'm like, I knew her before you did.
Because everybody gets value from you. All of the webinars that you've done, all the classes that you've done, it's helped agents all over the states.
Yeah, transform their businesses.
Thanks. You know, it really started by, I felt like I knew way before it happened, I want to go into this like coaching role. And I was like, okay, I get to go to some of these really amazing networking events that a lot of people never have the opportunity to go to, like global networking event with Sotheby's. But I did notice a trend that a lot of staff members, you know, no matter where it's from, they'll kind of hang out together, right? Because when you're there, there's a difference. Like, the agents, they are networking and they are in their A game. And I thought, well, what better way to know what my people are going through than to go through it with them? And, you know, like, you have this thought in like the back of your mind, and you're just like, well, I'm not licensed. Like, people aren't going to respect me. And I had all these self-doubts playing, and I was like, you know what? Sometimes when you go in the room, you know the room you want to be in, right? And then you know you're in the right room when you're in there, and you're like, oh no, like, I'm not sure if I'm qualified to be in here. And that's when you should like plant your legs, like you're rooting yourself down. And I just had to kind of go through the thick of it and the uncomfortable of it. And it was for a bit, but like, when you grow, it has to be uncomfortable, right? So like, I do that. I keep doing it at networking events. COVID happened, and that is where we did a bunch of webinars and just gave it to all the agents in the network, because maybe they didn't have a training person at their affiliate. And I just kind of was talking into a computer screen.
Yeah.
Like I did not see like how many people are watching. I never really went back and looked. And then I started getting people reaching out to me and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like I'm wearing like yoga pants or pajama bottoms and like a nice shirt.
But everybody was, you know, it's relatable.
And
it's real.
I just tried to bring the sense of normalcy. And it's crazy because I mean, yeah, like I never would have thought like being a staff member 7-8 years ago when I got to go to my first networking event, that now I'd be going to one. And I mean, there's probably at the one we're going to go to soon, like 30 or 40 people that have reached out saying, I can't wait to see you. And you're like,
well, now you're hosting events at the networking events.
yeah, I mean, I love being the hostess. Like
And,
it's my
and
favorite.
you know, the thing that you did, which, you know, you said, oh, you had all these self-doubts and limiting beliefs, but what you did is you showed up. And when you showed up on the outside, nobody could tell that you had these doubts and limiting beliefs. So it's kind of like one of my mentors told me, like, even if you're a little bit shy, nobody knows that you are. So it's all just the self-talk inside of your head. So whenever you show up to one of those rooms, just being in that room, everybody else assumes that you're qualified to be there. So as long as you know, be nice and talk to people, it's like nobody cares whether you think that you shouldn't be there.
Right. Nobody cares. And you have just brought value to so many people. You were the first of your kind, you know, like no staff was in that room before you,
Well, thanks.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a different breed of what usually goes to networking events, and it's just a nice way to open up the field a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like, email me, call me.
Yeah.
Like you're not my agent at my affiliate, but like,
I've got all the tips and tricks.
yeah, I'll send you my videos. Like
Right.
I'll send you pictures of my kids. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, right, like we were all beginners at one point,
Yeah.
right? Like this whole thing, I mean, like this amazing podcast that Mel Robbins did. And she talks about, it doesn't matter, like take that self-doubt out. And instead, when you're in that moment and like you start sweating, like I get nervous. Sometimes I don't want to talk. I know that seems crazy for anybody to believe, but I will want to shut down. And you have to transform your mind to say, you know what? I am so grateful that right now I'm standing in this room. I'm so grateful that I'm within arm's length of this like powerhouse or this powerhouse right here that is doing the things that I don't even know how to do. Don't compare yourself, but you're like, how can I connect with them? And at one point, like, and I got to see the beauty of like you being a beginner in your career, right? And like working with Iñaky. And Iñaky, like when you were brand new to the New Braunfels market and getting to come in and I got to meet you and like instantly I knew, I was like, this is going to be amazing. He's going to do such incredible things in his career. But I feel like the only person who's criticizing you the worst is yourself.
Sure.
100%.
For sure.
So you got to show up. Like you don't want to look or say like, man, like I'm in my 30s or I've already been out of college. I'm in my late 20s or however old you are. You're in your 40s or 50s and say, I'm too old, because you're not. Because what if you live to be almost 100?
Exactly. And you know, that anxiety and that nervousness before doing something, those are actually the same chemicals and fire and things that are firing in your brain as excitement. So if you can train your brain to say, no, I'm not anxious, I'm excited, and then you lean into that. Like I had to do this for myself because early in my career, I was talking in front of a lot of investors and like going on stage and like really like doing a lot of public speaking.
As a young adult.
You know, I was 23, 24 years old, like speaking to multimillionaires on stage about, you know, coming down to Belize and investing in a different country. And so I had to learn to, whenever I felt nervous before going on stage, I would just tell myself, man, I'm so excited. I get to present in front of this group. And then I would just show up with a big smile and like my whole energy would change.
Well, and I think the power of it, right, is it's so hard to do that alone. And so when I started taking a look at the real estate industry, this probably goes to any industry that's out there, but we have these ultra confident people. But when you put them at something like a networking event, they become so self-conscious. Like it's crazy. And so I thought, how can I create an environment in which you're not going to say, oh, I'm not going to go. My friend can't go with me. I'm not going to take that risk on myself. So that's why I started hosting events to say, I always try to host the event before the actual event kicks off because I just want to get some like-minded people who do business in a similar way with each other. You may not know any of them, but they're just so similar that when you go in, you know that it's like a safe space. Like I want to create that.
You're an icebreaker for sure.
I hope
Yeah.
that's really because I was so nervous. I was like the only staff member out there floating around, you know, hoping people talk to me. Cause I got agents who'd be like, oh, you're a staff member. Okay. And they'd move on to the next person. I'm like, you're not going to bring me down. It would almost motivate me more. So like, I want to get you together. So then maybe you're going into this networking event and you have 3 or 4 people. So if you are getting in front of a group like you had to, you have people in the front row like, yeah,
Right.
you got this. Or I'm like, hey, did you know this person in this market? Come here, let me introduce you to my friends. You're introducing me to your friends. And then, oh my gosh, all of a sudden now we're feeling really good and the event's just starting. And now I'm going to have 2 days of like powerhouse Katie versus 2 days of like, I think I'm going to go back in my room and check on contracts and like work on paperwork kind of person.
Yeah.
You've got to find your crowd too.
Exactly.
And it's easier than you think sometimes.
Yeah, and networking is so important, especially in real estate. You know, like real estate is networking, and your network is your net worth, as some will say. And whenever this episode comes out, we'll actually be in New Jersey networking with a bunch of Sotheby's International Realty agents. And you're right, a lot of people are, you know, shy and they're nervous when they network. They're good one-on-one, but when you put them in a crowd full of people, they don't really know what to do. And so let's dive into that a little bit about networking and how, you know, some tips about networking. And whenever I first started networking, I used to think I have to meet everybody. I have to give my business cards to everybody, right? That's when I was 21 years old and I didn't really know what I was doing. Now my strategy has changed and I just focus on the person that's in front of me. And if I meet 5 interesting people in that entire trip, like that was good enough for me, but I go deep with them and really get to know them, get to know their families, get to know about their hobbies, about their interests. And that's what really creates a relationship rather than trying to meet everybody and pass out as many cards as you want.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with the master networkers right here. I have to start with that because the art between getting to literally sit there and witness what you guys do is amazing. And I think you have to look at this as like, what do you want to invest in your business, right? So some people want to do farming in a neighborhood. I would never want to do that, but like they want to pour into that and that's great. So like you can't force yourself in this networking box if that's not your jam. But a lot of times you think it's not your jam, but you got to give it a try and it becomes your jam because we all want to be around like great energy and people. And it's almost like a high that you get to be able to go to these. So I don't think it's just like showing up and being there. I've kind of found the art that there's a pre, a during, and a post. And so getting to go, number one, if you're going, like, how does it make you feel, right? If we're talking and then I hear you're maybe not in a feeder market and I'm like looking over your shoulder. Well, I don't know who you might talk to that's in what you may have a best friend who's the number 1 in my feeder market.
Right.
And I just made you feel really bad.
Yeah.
So I feel like now, maybe this is post-COVID, maybe this has been all the time, but like, I truly do feel like you never know where something's going to come. And a lot of times when referrals come, it's not a direct referral. It's like to the 3rd or 4th degree of people recommending you.
That's happened
Exactly.
a lot this year,
Oh
actually.
yeah, it happens to us all the time, and that's why like people will reach out to me and ask me networking tips, and they're like, "Do you have a target list? Like, who are you targeting to meet at this event?" And I'm like, "Whoever shows up. Like, I don't have a strategy of I'm gonna meet this person, and that person. I just show up, and whoever's in front of me, that's who I talk to, and I just go with the flow. I just go with the energy. And to your point, I'm not looking over their shoulder to see who else I can meet. If you're in front of me, I'm locked in on you.
Yeah.
Until the next, until that conversation ends.
When I think that's why you make people feel so special, because your phone could be going off and like your eyes don't move. You don't seem distracted. It's a really great feeling. You feel really respected. And I think in this day and age, our phones rule our lives. And that's just so different, right? It's like handwritten note cards. Nobody does them. It's like the eye contact. Nobody does that. And I think like I don't go in with a hit list. Like I just kind of go and I'm like, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm here.
Whatever happens,
Now,
happens.
Yeah. Like, are we hanging out in our hotel room and distracting? No. Like we go with the intention of like, when I get home, I'm exhausted because and just like with you guys, like we usually go out together, right? It is like boom, boom, boom. We're talking to everybody.
Right.
But it's not the salesy thing, right? It's just like getting to know cool people because if you just like help people and invest in a great relationship, I do truly believe that it comes back to you tenfold.
100%. And especially when you see this business like in the long run, right? Like if you're looking to get something out of that networking event immediately, that's the wrong strategy. Like you
It's
gotta,
the wrong mindset.
you gotta think, how many years am I gonna be in this career? You know, because I could meet somebody today that won't give me any business until 8 years from now. But 8 years from now, I'm gonna be very happy that I met that person today. And that's kind of how I look at life, how I look at business. And so I'm not worried about what can I get from you. I'm just more interested in who are you, how can we help each other, and what can I give you?
Right.
And then that's how you make better relationships.
And I don't think we ever go into it thinking about referrals. I mean, the cool thing about us is I feel like he works on the business and I work in the business. So for me, when I go to networking events, learning just tips and tricks from top agents in other places, like, oh, we do this at the listing appointment. We do this to keep us organized. I learn a new like app or tool. Like those little tidbits are worth, going.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like
We've learned so many little things that we've implemented from going to networking events.
and those are things that they're not like online or anything like that. They happen through real conversations.
Right.
And like they're not, promoting a product or anything. They're just like, oh, I'm using this. And we're like, and we try it. Not everything works for us because everybody's business is different. But there are certain things that we've picked up from other agents that really do work for us.
Well, and I think that's the thing, right? When you look at your ROI, it's easy when you look at a postcard. How many calls am I going to get off of it, right? But I think when you have to think of a sphere of influence, right? So we have our client sphere of influence, but now we have this like agent and network, whatever network you're working in, sphere of influence. And Sotheby's has a strong one. And you have to nurture both. And so I think when you look at doing like sphere of influence marketing, you can't say like, oh, well, Iñaky used me 12 years ago, but I've been sending him postcards. So I know because I sent that postcard, he called me. I just know because I've been investing in our relationship, it just works. And you refer me and you want to use me again because you know me, you like me, you trust me. In the same way with that agent database, like you can't go and be working the room, handing out all these business cards and be like, no one's called me. Because you have to invest in them. And I think you can't walk away and say, well, I got this many dollars from this event. It's really hard to track that.
It's very hard to track.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little trick. I don't even take business cards to networking events. If we have a deep enough conversation, I'll share my contact card from my phone to you, and we'll exchange contact information. I'm not passing out business cards. So it's like I haven't carried business cards in years. And some people think that that's the way to build a business, is to give out as many business cards as you want. And I don't even carry them.
And I think we've learned that from experience. Like we get handed a lot of business cards and it's not something that you kind of hold on to. You know, you remember the conversation and the person. You might add them on social media or get their number and be texting them or whatever. But going off of a card just isn't what's done today.
No. They go on the bottom of my suitcase, and then I'm like, when can I get my CRM to add people in there? But if you added me on my phone, that goes directly in my CRM.
Yeah.
And it starts working that way. And I think that a lot of this 3-part, right? Like you have the post, and yes, everybody's going to send this cute little box or this follow-up of like after the event. But if you have thought of me now and reached out to me 3 times after an event, I'm putting you on the top of my list.
Right.
Because it's not the like obligation of having to reach out to me, but now you want to keep reaching out to me, and you're hey, how's it going? How's your market?
Right.
How are your girls doing? Hey, just wanted to catch up with you. Sometimes it's not even about work. It's just how's life? It's sending the selfie video via text, just saying, what's up? Like I'm on my way to my workout and I was thinking about you, and sending that's more than enough. But I think it's like digging deep in that, where like the business cards, you could get a gazillion of them printed.
Yeah.
Right.
It may produce nothing for you. So I think you have to go in with the right intentions, right? Like I want to grab these tidbits. I want to make cool new friends. I want to have people I could call if a transaction gets tough and I need help. Like how does this market deal with a listing that's been sitting, that's priced right? Do they have tips and tricks? But I think a huge piece that we haven't talked about too is like this abundance mindset. Like what I have been so attracted to, and I think like why we get along so well, is that we can just all be together. It doesn't matter if markets overlap, if they don't overlap. It's not like, hey, like I'm working this right here. You need to go over this way. Like we're able to just all be together. And I think you guys are really like example setters of being able to say like, oh, hey, here's our colleague in the same office. You should meet them. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you don't get the scarcity mindset surrounding that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens with Ginger a lot, right? Like we'll go out and network, and we serve the same market. We're in the same office, but to your point, like we have such an abundance mindset that some people are gonna like her better than they're gonna like us, just because of personalities, whatever it is, right? I want her business to succeed just as much as I want my business to succeed. So we're always happy to be in the same room, networking together, because she feels the same way. She introduces me to people and vice versa. But to your point, there's enough for everyone. None of us can sell all the real estate, you know?
Yeah.
So there's enough for everyone. And by being abundant and being a good person, more and more will keep flowing to you.
You get friendships out of that. You learn from each other. And there's enough to go around always. And what's meant for us is already in the cards, you know?
When I feel like I so many times had people say, I feel like you're with the New Braunfels crew a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well, you're attracted to us.
Yeah.
it's true, right? Like that energy is just contagious. And you're like, I don't care. Like, I'll help you. You do the same thing as I do. You don't do the same thing as I do. I don't care.
Whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
And I feel like it's just this like super collaborative environment that who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
Right.
And it doesn't matter, you know, like going back to like, we've all been beginners at some point.
Yeah.
And no matter what we do, like who knows in 2 years what life is going to throw at any of us.
Yeah.
And what we'll be doing or what we're interested in. And it's like, yeah, if I can help you get there, like, let me help you, because that means that I have somebody else who's like so awesome and great at what they do. And I believe in them as a person.
Right.
Like if I can tell you this, if there was a client who wouldn't want to work with me, 100%, I'd be like, you need to go work with my friends. They can take care of you. I know that they can. Or even times, hey, I may not be the right personality for you, but I know exactly who would. And I'd want to celebrate that rather than having this like thought process of like,
of just the money. Part of it.
like, no, I got to get this. I got to get this. Life just doesn't work that way. And if I were the client, I wouldn't want to be treated that way, that like somebody just wants that commission or closing. So we've got to treat them in that same regard, you know, and having those people who are your biggest cheerleaders, they challenge you to do better. I mean,
we motivate each other.
you guys have motivated me to make some pretty big life changes and to really believe in what I'm doing, because I didn't see that there was that much value in what I was doing. And so I always hope to return that favor to other people, because you guys have been so instrumental in decisions that I've made in my life that feel very big to me. And I can only hope that when you make big decisions, you call me or you feel like I was able to help you make that.
Well, it feels a lot better when you friends are winning together. You know, it's like, I don't want to be successful by myself. Like, then
what's the fun in that?
Then who am I gonna hang out with?
Yeah.
You know, like the more you level up, the less and less the people you can hang out with becomes, because they can't do the things that you can't do anymore. So I want everybody around me to level up together.
I agree. You know, and I really think, like, I know everybody has like just coined me as like the ninja queen, right? Like, but I really think right after I had the twins, if you're a parent, especially a mom that works, like you really can relate with, you feel lost, because I had this career. Now I had 2 babies. I didn't have any babies. I went from 0 to 2 and I was nursing and pumping and I was trying to keep up. I didn't feel like I was showing up 100% anywhere in my life.
Yeah.
And it was really hard. And we had this 4-day ninja installation. And I remember I'd be pumping in the middle of the night by myself. I'd be so alone and tired. And I would read the ninja book before our training. And I'm like, oh man, I agree with all these things. And then I saw this picture of Larry Kendall. And I'm like, he's going to know me. And that little voice in the back of my head was like, Katie, whatever. And I was like, no, he's going to know me. Millions of people read this book, but I am telling myself he's going to meet me. And I got to fangirl. He was my one person that I ever had a list for at a networking event. Because he was a speaker. Yeah. And I was like, he is going to meet me. And I was able to get that to happen. And it's crazy how you can literally manifest things, I believe, through affirmations, through, I think, totally changing. Like for me, getting into my health and my fitness has completely changed my mindset, way more than the physical changes, which if you're not working out, you're like, whatever. But it's true. And with those things, like I now get to work hand in hand and I'm on the ninja team now. Like who would have thought that that would ever be a thing before?
And we got to witness that, right? Because we're at the networking event together, and there you are having lunch with Larry Kendall, and we took a picture of you, sent it to you, and it was such a cool moment because we knew you wanted to do that, and then you were. And just for those listeners that don't know what Ninja is, Ninja Selling is a system created by Larry Kendall that allows you to have more income per hour. So it's not about being busy, but it's about how are you more productive and focus on income producing activities and then outsource the rest. That way you can have a life as well as, selling real estate. And so now you're part of the Ninja Selling team, which is amazing because like you've been teaching us these things, you've been having webinars and courses for us, and it's always been a goal of yours, and now you're doing it. So congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, I told them that I was their unpaid intern for far too long.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to be on the team. And, I just want everybody to know, like, I mean, I literally opened a book and I saw the author and I was like, he's going to meet me. And it was this far-fetched idea. So like, no matter what that is for someone, it could be totally opposite of that. But whatever that goal or dream is, like, don't be the one to ruin it for yourself. And did it happen overnight? No. There were lots of steps, right? So like when you look at the overall process of getting to the finish line, no matter what your goal is, you're like, God, that's complicated. But start taking it piece by piece, little by little. And I just started incorporating cool ninja stuff because I just believed in it. It like really aligned with like the handwritten note cards. My mom taught me to do that growing up.
Right.
And there were so many things that just felt so natural. And then I just kept doing it. And then I wanted to share it with other people. And then COVID happened and I wanted to share it with everybody in the network because I felt like they didn't have champions doing that at their brokerage. And then it just kept snowballing, but it poured so much back into my life and the positive changes and personal when it came to like being a better spouse and a better parent. When it came to my fitness, I mean, I completely changed my health, completely changed my mindset. I can go back to being a victim mindset just as easily as anybody else, but it's how fast you go back to being in that player mindset. And you can get to that goal. The goal that I thought of this author is going to meet me one day. Well, I got to go on his boat and be at his house at a party this summer. And he gave me a tour and they were giving me a hard time saying that they were like hippopotamus in the lake. And I believed them. And like, it was so much fun, but I got to take a selfie with Larry. Like he texts me. It's a dream, but you can get to your dream, but you got to chunk away at it and you have to want it bad enough.
Yeah, you even printed out a cardboard cutout of him and you would bring him to meetings and that was your boyfriend,
Yeah.
So that was like visualization at the next level, right? Like you literally manifested
That's so
him.
true.
Yeah, I love it, and I feel like we all have these gas tanks, okay? Like we all have them today. And our gas is going down today. Like you're going to get to empty and we can't give our gas to everything and everyone. And I feel like, I remember my mom told me when she was in her 30s, it was great. And I was like, God, that sounds so old when I was in my 20s and now I'm in my 30s. And I do feel like this is when you can like unapologetically be like, that doesn't serve me.
Right.
I'm so sorry. Like I respect you, but that doesn't serve me. I need to go do this. And I've really tried to be intentional in the last few years of saying, like, do I have enough gas in the tank for this?
Yes.
And I've had to turn away from things. And before I would have felt obligated or awkward. And I think you have to do that for your own mental well-being and say, what do I want to pour in? Am I giving my kids less than a quarter of a tank or am I giving them 3/4 of the tank? And what else is taking up that fourth of the tank that's left over? And you have to be intentional with that.
Yeah, it's so interesting because at the beginning of anybody's career, you kind of have to say yes to almost everything, right? To get it going. But then you get to a point where you have to start saying no more than you say yes. You have to figure out what are the things that actually align with your goals versus what's just noise. And a lot of it is just noise. And so you have to figure out like what actually serves you, what actually serves your business, and you have to be able to say no to a lot of things in order to get the yeses that are really important.
So I think I want to like turn this whole thing around to like ask you, because I agree with you, right? Like you do anything and everything. And I think for anybody who's starting in any industry, especially real estate, I think should be intentional with what they allow in, right? But I mean, your career has been incredible. You have been in so many different markets. I remember you came to New Braunfels and you're like, I'm going to take over New Braunfels. And I was like, wow, I've never met an agent who's been able to do that. And you did that. And like, you are not salesy. You are not saying, hey, do you know someone who's looking to buy or sell? Do you want to buy or sell? You have literally created friendships. And I think I have learned so much from you and Malin, and like the way that you do business. Like, I want you to walk me through how you got to that mentality. Like, I feel like for the age that you are, that's like a really mature viewpoint to come from.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate those very kind words. And I just always have known that I'm going to be successful. And that's always been my mindset. So I've never really thought like, oh, I'm never going to make it. So I've always thought like, I'm going to make it. I just got to figure out how. I just got to work hard. And, from the very beginning of my career, I was in the office until 9 p.m. So I've always had that work hard mentality. But then you start figuring out like, it's not just about working hard. It's also about working smart. And some people like to say, you have to work smarter, not harder. I think that's BS. You have to do both. You have to both work hard and smart. And really, to your point, it's like one day I sat down with myself and I just started meditating and I try to figure out, how can I take this to the next level? Like, how can I be a better real estate agent, a better real estate broker? How can I be better for my clients? And it just kind of came to me. And it just, something in my head said, be a friend, not a realtor. And from that moment on, like my whole business changed. I just started being friends with people instead of being a realtor. And like, sure, the real estate conversation happens naturally because people know what I do. They see me on social media. Like, it's pretty obvious, what I do now. But I'm never the one leading that conversation. I always just make friends. I'm interested in them. And it's truly a true friendship. And so then it kind of comes up. And I figured out, like, nobody really wants a real estate agent. Like, if they had to choose whether they want to use a real estate agent or not, they would go with not using one. But they kind of need it, because they're specialized knowledge. They know the market. They know how to market. And so, but if they had to choose, they probably wouldn't want to use one. So then whenever I decided to be friends with people instead of being a realtor, and then the time that they come to buy or sell, they want to call their friend who's the number one realtor to sell their house. They don't want to call a realtor to be friends.
It feels natural.
Exactly.
That's so true. But I feel like, Malin, like, you've also done this bang up job when I get to see you at these networking events, because you guys are together, you collaborate, and then all of a sudden I see you go, poof, and then Malin's this way and Iñaky's this way. And you're not leaning on anybody as a crutch. You're like, hey, what's up? I don't know you. What's your name? What market do you serve? Like, I want you to walk me through that, because I know a lot of times we can have like, oh no, like, I'm coming up to this mega producer. I don't know this person, all these self-doubts, but you are so confident and I so envy you for that. You just like have so much self-confidence that you exude to people. And it is like, people want to be around that.
Thank you. I think the thing is, once you get a few under your belt, I think you calm down a little bit. You have a little less anxiety about going into a big room full of people that you don't know. But I think it's important just to, you're not talking to 50 people at once. You're talking to a few, and just realizing that nobody's different. They all started just like you did, and everybody's just a little kid inside, honestly. And everybody kind of puts up a wall at first and kind of an act, like we're all big shot realtors or whatever. We live in LA or we live in New York, and it's just they're humans just like you are. We probably have a lot of things that we like in common, and it's just about finding those commonalities.
Yeah, I would agree with Melanie.
And just having a conversation.
Right.
I don't feel less than because you sell $20 million houses and we sell 400,000. If I was where you are, I'd probably be doing the same thing. And if you were where I was, we would be doing the same thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, we sell a lot of $400,000
right,
houses.
Right. But just don't get that in your head about that they're more fancy than you, and they're not. There's a lot of commonalities.
Yeah, to her point, like, we don't care like who they are or how much they've sold. Like, we connect on who they are, who they actually are as a person. Like yeah, do they sell $200 million last year? That's amazing. Let's see what we can learn from them. But at the end of the day, it's not intimidating. They're just a person, and that's how we see people. Is everybody's just another person, and so how can we connect on a personal level rather than oh, is this person going to want to talk to me or not?
Yeah, I think I like talking about everything but real estate sometimes.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows who each other is for the most part. But just going in with personal questions, I think just is an icebreaker too.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. You know, I don't know. I feel like sometimes we'll go to these events and then you say like, man, I didn't go up to Iñaky. Like he has this podcast, like he's doing so well. Like I just started or I'm not doing that great. But the only person that you're going to be upset with is yourself, right? And I'd rather go shoot my shot and be like, what's up?
Yeah.
You know, like, let's be friends. And sometimes you're going to get those situations where you're like, man, that person is really not who I thought that they'd be.
Yeah.
Right.
But then they'd have situations where like they meet somebody like you and you're like, hey, let's go out. Like, let's go have fun. And you feel so good about yourself. And I would never want to walk away from a situation to where I'm feeling like, dang, why didn't I take that chance on myself? Because if I'm not going to believe in myself, if I'm not going to take that risk on myself, who will? If
Right.
I won't do that
Right.
for
Nobody's
myself.
doing it for you.
And really, two things happen whenever you treat everybody the same. Is that the people that are ahead of you, they don't see you as somebody that's trying to get something from them. And then the people that are below you feel welcomed because it's like I will talk to a $200 million producer the same as I will talk to a person that just got into the business. And so because I treat them both the same, it's like we're just conversating. We're just people and we get to be friends instead of what have you sold or what have you not sold.
Right. It's the same mindset as chasing a commission, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You just can't think of it that way.
I mean, I remember there was a top agent at a networking event. I was so nervous to go into this event and I went. And I remember, you know, I got to meet him. I've known his name. He's in a different market. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm trying to afford, you know, like family, occupation, recreation, dreams. And he's like, so how's your market? And I'm like, well, like, I don't have my license right now and I do training. And he was like, oh. And like, it just turned into this like looking and I was like, okay, so like have a great night. And I left and this was in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like this was literally last April.
Well, and you know what? That's really good information, like for you, because you were never gonna connect them with anybody, you know, because you know the kind of person that they are now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like the only people I will move from and to talk to somebody else is whenever I can feel that they're looking over my shoulder or that they're trying to see who else they can talk to and they're not really interested in me. So
Yeah.
it's like people are people and like some of them are just not gonna have the abundance mindset. But you find out very quickly what kind of person they are by the first
Yeah.
interaction.
I agree.
And you don't have to waste time on people like that.
No. Yeah. I mean, and it stinks, right? Like even me, I've been to all these networking events. I'm like, yeah, like I went, like this guy had no idea who I was. And I was like, oh man, that was a hit. But you know what you have to do? You got to be like, cool. Like maybe I need to go find my people that I'm comfortable with to get pepped back up or just move on to the next person because that person's going to appreciate you for who you are. And I will always remember that conversation and always be prepped for like, how's your
Yeah.
market, right? Because of that. But like at the end of the day, in my eyes, it's more than just how our market's doing, right? Like I know that I want to work with people and refer my friends and family who go to other markets to people who care more than just about real estate. Like they care about just like this world and what's going on in it. And
Well-being of everybody.
yeah. So I think like when you go into a networking event, it's like surround yourself with great people, but also don't go in and being like, okay, well, here are all the stats. And I think like you just got to be like a cool person.
Well, and what a missed opportunity for that guy because he dismissed you because at that time you didn't have your real estate license, but he has no idea how many top agents throughout the U.S. you're connected with and really throughout the world through your role and what you've been doing. So I feel like that was a missed opportunity on him because he just assumed that because you didn't have your license, there was nothing for him to gain.
And, you know, I just think we're always going to get hit with those people, but I'd hate myself if I had stopped and been like, oh man, got to go to my room and like order room service and like watch reruns. Cause like, did I want to do that? Yes. I wanted to rip off my eyelashes and like go be upset about it, but I couldn't. It just made me want to go find the right people. And I think the biggest thing, which, you know, sucks for like anybody not in our market is like they don't have you guys. Like I always know at networking events I'm gonna have one or both of you, and we have at networking events where you're like, hey, I know you're hosting this event and you must be really hungry, come to our room, we got like a ton of like food sent here and come like veg out with us.
Yeah.
And like you guys are so inclusive and you make people feel so amazing and wonderful. So like it really stinks for people who can't be at the same networking events as
Yeah.
you. Cause like when we're in New Jersey, right? I
Yeah.
know we're going to be together. And
Right.
if there's something that's really great or really low, or maybe in between, I'm like, hey, Iñaky, guess what? Like,
Right.
and you just have to find that group of people, and you may think, well, I'm listening to this, and in my market, I don't have it in Iñaky or Malin, but you do. You just got to find it. And maybe you haven't been asking the right questions.
By the way, that night that we got room service, that was probably one of my best and favorite meals because we had been networking all day. We were exhausted, and we knew you were exhausted too.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's get away from it all. We all go to the room and we ordered like chicken tenders, French fries, burgers. We ordered it all, and then we're just munching on room service.
It was amazing. I like had my fake lashes on still. I had gotten in my PJs. I get the text. I'm like, I'm there. I was starving, but I didn't want to wait on room service. I have to go down elevators. People are seeing me because they're all still out networking, and they're like, she's in her pajamas, and I'm like running, and I'm like, I gotta go eat. And it was the best. Like sometimes I think like this hits on such a great point that like there were still people out networking really late.
Yeah.
But like we made the decision for our own mental well-being. Like we were all just gonna like shut it down for the
Yeah.
night. And then we were like, hey, let's just like unwind together
for a
and
second.
like have some food together. And that was literally when I think back to Texas networking event, that is in my like top like 3 moments
Yeah.
of like really in this amazing event that we hosted. One of those top moments was just like being together, being in my jammies and just like cracking up with you guys and eating
Yeah.
and getting to like not worry if somebody sees like ranch coming down my
Right.
face.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was really nice and
Just needed
organic.
a moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and that's to the point that, everything just has to happen naturally and organic, right? Like you can have your target list of who you're going to meet, but it's those interactions that you didn't plan for that really like make the good memories, that really make the good connections.
I agree.
Yeah.
that.
I mean, it's just a lot of networking takes a lot out of you, right? But some people like me, it actually gives me energy. Like
I know.
That's my,
He's a true extrovert.
yeah, that's where I thrive.
He
That's where I
really
get
is,
energy. And sometimes I am tired, but then I'm like, oh, just one more people, one more person to meet. And then that's like a really good connection. So
I mean, you're just the best at it. And I feel like I go through all these emotions of like the mom guilt of leaving. But now I've had so many people calling me about this networking event. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I have no clothes. So like I go get this whole new wardrobe, and that helps. But then right when I'm getting on the plane, I'm always like, no, I can't go. This is like my kids. But I'm like, my kids need to see I'm good and I'm a good
Yeah.
working mom.
And it's not that long.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lot of pressure that you put on yourself.
It's just like amazing to get to go meet people, especially to hear if I've like helped make a difference in someone's life. To me, that's like the greatest joy that somebody could give me through my work. Instead of like thinking of showing up to like a 9 to 5 is like horrible for anybody who's a 1099, right? But like getting to go to these events, and if somebody says, hey, like you're Katie, I've watched your videos and I've heard things like, I got in a car accident and I was bedridden, and I knew you always did your videos on Fridays, and I listened, and the stuff about mindset helped. Like I never thought that like looking into the computer screen that
right.
it would ever impact somebody that way. And so I think like no matter where you're at right now, like I started before not doing these videos, right? I was a beginner. So like wherever you're at as a beginner in your journey, just like crush it and do it. And there's so many things I've done that I thought were going to be like a like total home run that were a dud. And instead of like self-wallowing, you're just like, cool, how do I pivot? Like, how do I make this better? And that's just what I kept trying to do. And of course there's like lows and there's speed bumps, but that's why you have great friends
Yeah.
to be
Right.
like, nah, you're so good. You got to keep doing
Just keep
this.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned something so important, like sometimes people put so much effort into something and it's not working, but they keep putting effort into it. You got to know when it's time to just end that project,
Yeah.
right? Because just because you put a lot of effort in doesn't mean you have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
There's going to be things that are easier to do that are going to produce better results. So it's all about, when people ask me, like, how do you become successful in this business? There's not one thing. It's everything.
It's ever
everything that
changing
you do.
too. We're never done. We're never going to get to a point where we can just coast. Like that doesn't exist.
It's not a passive business. Like you always have to be reinventing yourself, always trying new things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, seeing what your clients respond to, what they don't respond to. So it's ever evolving. This is not a business that you get into it because it's going to be easy. You're going to make a lot of money and make your own hours. Yes, you can do all of that, but if you want to be successful, like that's not the mindset that you have to come into here.
Yeah.
I agree. And, you know, coming from someone who is a staff member, that, okay, when you look at real estate and you're a staff member, you're like, here's my ceiling. Like, I'm going to hit it. Why would I go network? Why would I go meet all these new people? I just did it. I kind of felt crazy, but I don't know. I just did it. Like, I had this hunch. And to think that now I've met these people, like, I was like, I will never meet people that are going to change my life. Like, I'm never going to meet people in this industry. And I proved myself wrong in so many ways. And people, and like meeting you guys and like what you've had me believe in my own self-confidence and in my life, what I've done, people around the world that they just want to invest in great people. So if someone is listening and thinking like, man, I don't know, it's like, you're talking to somebody who is a staff member and who is like, I'm going to do Zooms to help people feel normal during COVID. That's really how this all got started. And I know COVID was terrible. I had it multiple times. Family and friends had it. People passed away, and it was absolutely horrific. But when you look at the silver lining of it, it changed my entire career in my life. And I am grateful for that side of it, because I just got to see a whole different side of this business and industry. And like, oh man, like, why did I have these blinders set on myself in my career when like I need to throw those off and see everything? There's so much beauty going on around me.
Right. Well, you started with giving, right? Like, you looked for a way to add value instead of taking. Like, you weren't like, what can I take? You were doing those Zooms to give to people without really knowing like what you were going to get out of it. But because you put so much goodwill out into the universe, it's all coming back to you. And people starting their career, like, yeah, at first you have to like figure out how to, you know, get a deal and do this and do that. But if you switch your mindset and you start giving to people, you know, giving good conversations, giving good advice without really worried about what's going to come back, it will come back.
And you'll feel happier.
Yeah.
Because you know you're doing your best.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why everybody always wants to be around y'all.
Well, same for you. For sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, we always have a good time when we're with you. So,
Ditto.
yeah, we need to hang out more often.
We do.
Yeah.
You need friends who, when you take the summer off to be with your kids, wants you to FaceTime to do a wellness check to make sure that you are still okay. And that's what Iñaky did by saying, I need to make sure you're good because we haven't seen you. And I'm just there like in my toddler, like loving life. And it feels amazing to have friends who care at that level. That's not like, what can you do for me? Hey, I need this help with my business. You had nothing to ask me about your business, but you're like, I want to make sure it's really you texting me. Talk to me. And I really appreciate that so much.
Of course. And I thought that was so cool that you took the summer off to be with your kids, you know, like, and that's something that people should do more often. It's not about working all year, right? It's about figuring out like what works for you and then also having a life. And you're the perfect example of that. You said, I want to be with my kids. That's what's important for me. And you did. And now you're back working now that school is back in. And it's like you never skipped a beat.
Right.
Yeah. You know, when I started to think about it, I think when my kids went into pre-K, it was a really emotionally hard year for me. I think figuring out my career. I can't be a 9-to-5 kind of person. I really love what I do, but I also want to be involved and be room mom and work lunchroom on Fridays and all these things. How can I do that? And it was hard. And you guys were like really great support for me and like helping me figure out what that looked like. And I mean, I remember feeling pretty lost. And I kept telling myself, well, you can't have the summer off. You can't have fall break and Christmas break and, you know, spring break, but like, well, why not? Why can't I?
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I just said I'm taking the summer off. I'm taking fall break after Metro networking event off. I'm taking, when my kids are off, I'm off. And, you know, you can call me, I'll still be available, but like, I'm probably not going to go anywhere. Like I did like one work trip and like 2 meetings in the summer.
Yeah.
And when you think, well, I can't do that. Yes, you can.
You can do that.
You absolutely can do it. And if it means enough to you, you'll figure it out. And it's terrifying in the moment, right? I was like, oh my God, what is it going to look like in a month or in a year from now? I really didn't know I'd be sitting here doing this with you guys, but I just like really had faith. And like, I knew God would take me on this path I needed to go on. And I was able to do it. And I'm so happy that I did it. But just know, like, and you guys know this, right? Like in the trenches of it, you question everything, but then hindsight is 2020 and you look back and you're like, oh man, I should have done that sooner.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly. So we have about 5 minutes left. So I want you to kind of dive into gratitudes and affirmations because ninja selling starts with mindset, you know, which I really enjoy that because it's not about like, the processes of how to work with a buyer or how to work with a seller. It has that in the book, but the very first part of it is about mindset. So how should they incorporate gratitudes and affirmations, and like, why are they helpful? Because I feel like a lot of people that are not into personal development think that it's very cheesy to like write down your affirmations and to do gratitudes, but they really do work.
Yeah. So I remember reading about affirmations. So the way that Ninja Selling tells you to do it is you write it 28 times. So I'm going to tell you 3 things I'm grateful for at the top of the paper. This is how I do it. And then 28 times. So like, I enjoy making X amount per year. It's the same thing 28 times. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'm going to prove Larry Kendall wrong. And that's how I'm going to meet him. That was really my thought. So I had my kids. I went from working out 6 days a week to never wanting to ever work out again, probably because I felt like I didn't have time. So I enjoy working out 5 days a week, and I would laugh as I wrote it. I'd be like, there's no way. I would look at my Peloton next to me, and it had dust, and I had like hangers of like jackets on it. And I started writing it, and you write it every day, 28 times, 28 times. But then I'd go to a work lunch and somebody would say, oh, do you want rosé? And then I'd start thinking, well, if I drink rosé, I still have to work out today because I'm writing that affirmation. And things started coming. And then all of a sudden, like, I swear, it's like Harry Potter magic. You're writing those every day. And then I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I guess I could have that cocktail, but then I'll probably run in like 3 hours from now. So go do an outdoor run. And you just slowly get into it. And I swear every time, I even did one that was financial. And I thought, I'm a staff member. I'm going to, again, now is the time I'm going to prove them wrong. And I got it. Like it blows my mind. So I know, like, I thought it was the Kool-Aid. I live by affirmations, whether it's personal, professional, whatever it is. Pick one affirmation. Don't do 5. You pick one. At least I like doing it for about 60 or 90 days, at least 30 days. And you write it 28 times, and it's in the present tense. So like, I enjoy making $500,000 a year or more. Or mine was, I enjoy working out 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. And you may laugh at it, but when you're writing it, you have to think about it. You have to feel like you're doing it. And I swear it happens. And a lot of it, like, yeah, I wanted, when I started working out, the physical changes are crazy. And that's what most people focus on. But like, I cannot begin to tell you, and you know this, Malin, like the mental mind shift is just like insane.
Yeah, and it's that reticular activating system in your brain, right? It's whenever you go out and buy that red car, you used to never see red cars. Now you see red cars everywhere. And so when you keep writing the same thing over and over again, now your brain starts looking for ways to make that true, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's true and what's not. But it always wants to come back to equilibrium. So if you're saying I make X amount and you currently don't, but that's your goal, or you want to say I work out X amount of times per week, your brain's always looking for ways to make that true. And that's how affirmations work.
It is. So like when you say, I want to make $750,000 a year, maybe you're not even making like a fraction of that, right? Mm-hmm. But when you start writing that, then as you go on and you're on day 45 of that, you start making different decisions in your day to day. Not that this one decision changed and now I'm making this bigger amount of money, but it just makes you create habits. Maybe now you're waking up earlier. Maybe now you're being more intentional with your time and not on TikTok all day or all night and getting better sleep. I just think that, you know, when we really look in business, right? When you call someone and you want to work with somebody in any industry, do you want to work with a player who's like at the top of their game and they're like, I got you, and they're energetic and contagious to be around? Or do you want to work with a victim and life is against them? Right? Do you ever go up to the person on the sales floor and they're like, hey, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Right? No, you want the person like, I got you. I have the perfect thing for you. Like, what's up? Tell me about your family. And I think that we have to think in those terms too. And it's so easy to get caught up in like blaming other people. But sometimes the hardest thing to do is pull that mirror down and be like, we got to work on each other. Mm-hmm. And that's what you do, and become a player and become someone that you would want to work with. Would you want to work with yourself? And sometimes that's a hard conversation to have. And we all go through the victim mindset. Mm-hmm. It happens to all of us.
Right.
And this is why having a tribe is so important, because I called y'all and y'all were there for me, and y'all were like, nope, we're coming up. We're coming up. We're going to help you. Let's get creative. Mm-hmm. In the same way that when you guys have those lows, you know that you can call me.
Right.
And I'm going to help bring you up. So I think that that's just so important to find the people that are going to pour into you, and it's not just about business.
Yeah, and you have to be a player, and you can tell who's a player and who's a victim. And the good news is that if you're a victim, you can change to being a player. If things keep happening to you, you're a victim. If things keep happening for you, you're a player. So if like, oh, this happened to me, oh, this happened to me, you got to change your mindset so things start happening for you. And that way you become a player, and you really just start attracting more, and other people can sense the type of energy that you're playing with.
I agree. You know, there's a video that we played at a sales meeting. This was years ago, and that actually was the one thing that kind of clicked my mind onto, you know, doing some different things. And it's this amazing YouTube video that a lot of people have seen, but he basically goes to, when you are on your deathbed, what are you going to be proud of that you spent your time on and your energy? Are you going to look back and are you going to say, wow, I wasted a lot of time on things that really didn't matter. And I was distracted and didn't pour into my kids or my spouse or into myself. And that really hit me. Like, we only have one life to live. And you're right. Like, you can become a victim just as fast as you can become a player. And you're the writer of your own future. That's like the beauty of this life. So like, I just hope that people in hearing like any of the classes that I do or like in this podcast can walk away and be like, dude, I can do it. And if they need help, like email us, call us, like we'll tell you you can do it and we'll help you get there. And it's just like so fulfilling to help other people get to that and seeing like pure joy ooze out of them.
That was a beautiful ending.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, Katie. Malin, thanks for being here again. And this was Iñaky's Coffee Club, episode 5. Thanks for watching.